Today we are in the United States capital of Washington, D.C. This grand and elegant city is the representative of the United States to the rest of the world and is the home of some of the country's most iconic and awe-inspiring monuments. On this tour, we will explore the city and learn about the best things to do and see in this fascinating and beautiful city. Hey everyone, JP here, and welcome to beautiful and historic Washington, D.C. So today we are in the United States capital of Washington, D.C., and we are going to go throughout the entire city and explore the best things to do and see while you're here in the United States capital. Now, it's a very governmental city, so you're going to see a lot of memorials, a lot of monuments, and a lot of buildings that house our nation's governmental functions. But it's more than that. I mean, the city has so much to offer. It's a real beautiful place to walk through and to really get an amazing taste of what it means to be an American and really get a taste of real American heritage. So let's begin. So the first thing you want to check out when you're here in Washington, D.C. is the United States Supreme Court building. So this building really is monumental in law in the United States, right? So these are where all the court cases get elevated to at the highest level. So some of the biggest changes in law occurred right in this building. Now, we're here on a Saturday, so it is not open, but if you come Monday through Friday, you can actually go into the building, and they have like a visitor center, and you can tour it as well. Unfortunately, we're not here on that day, but I definitely recommend you go inside and learn a little bit about it. There's like a museum too, and how this building really changes the way law works in the United States. The United States Supreme Court building proves to be a legendary symbol of justice and the highest level of the judicial system in the country. Its neoclassical architecture, featuring a white marble exterior and grandiose columns, evokes a sense of importance. Inside, the courtroom is the focal point, and it is here that the 9 justices make important decisions that shape the United States legal landscape. Okay, the next place you have to check out when you're here in DC is the U.S. Capitol, and that is with an OL, not an AL, right? So this is the building that houses the legislative branch of government, which is the Congress and Senate. So this is the place where they actually come up with the laws, right? So when a Congress member or a Senate member has an idea, they run it through here, right? And it's voted on, it's delegated, it's discussed. It really is a very important piece of the United States because this is where everyone goes through the laws and, sees if it will work, if it won't work, and it's voted on. So we're going to take a tour inside the building. So the building is beautiful. It really is a big piece of American heritage. And the tour is free, completely free. It's about an hour long. And there's 3 very important rooms that we're going to see in the tour. You should get your ticket ahead of time. They could sell out about a month in advance in the summertime, so make sure you get it early. If you don't happen to get it early, come when it opens at like 8:30, 9 o'clock a.m. and they have tickets available, like same day tickets. That's what I did. I'm not a big huge planner before I go places, so that's what I did. So let's head in. The first stop on the guided tour is the statue room, featuring impressive statues of prominent figures from the 13 states making up the 13 original colonies. Also, this is the exact point that serves as the central axis that all streets radiate from within Washington, D.C. The next room you will see is the magnificent Rotunda. The Grand Dome is adorned with symbolic paintings and impressive frescoes that represent the history and development of the United States. These pieces of art are meant to honor the nation's heritage and democratic ideals. The tour will conclude in a second room of statues. These statues showcase prominent figures from the other 37 states. Also, this room was the original meeting room for Congress and the Senate. Now, the next place you have to check out when you're here in DC is the National Archives Museum, which is behind me. So unfortunately, we cannot film in there due to the sensitive nature of the documents that are housed in this museum. But it is a must-see when you're here because this is the home of three very important documents: the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. So these three documents are monumental to this experiment we call America, right? Now, it's free to get in. The main documents are in a beautiful rotunda, very dark in there. And you will notice when you look at the documents that they're very faded. I mean, these documents were written up, 250 years ago. And they're on parchment and they were written with a quill. And it always fascinates me when I see them, how beautiful and clear and neat and straight the handwriting is. I mean, they had excellent script back then. I bet some of you don't even know how to write in cursive nowadays. So it's definitely something to see. It's completely free. Sometimes there's a bit of a line. I walked right in. There's timed entry. You don't really have to do timed entry. You could just kind of walk in. But if you prefer to do timed entry, there is that as well. So definitely check that out. The next place you have to go is the National Mall, which is where I am now. Now, what is a mall? A mall basically is a linear park or greenway, right? So this is a very famous park. So you've probably seen this in dozens of movies, and it really serves as a meeting place for Washington, D.C. locals, right? So you'll see people just kind of hanging out, sunbathing, frisbee, doing all that stuff, chilling, having picnics. But it also serves as a gathering place for protests. We really are right now in the center of the nation's capital, right? So this has become a political center for rallies, protests, all kinds of things of that nature. And along the National Mall are some of the nation's most famous monuments, which we are going to visit all of them in this video. So let's start. While perusing the National Mall, you will come across the Smithsonian Castle. This Gothic Revival architectural gem is the headquarters of the Smithsonian Institution. The impressive building serves as a gateway to the vast collection of museums that make up the Smithsonian collection. Next, you are sure to see the Washington Monument. This towering obelisk stands at 555 feet and is one of the United States' most prominent landmarks. This impressive monument commemorates the country's first leader, George Washington. It is built with white marble and granite, and you can also get a panoramic view from the monument's observation deck. Okay guys, the next place you have to check out when you're here in Washington, D.C. is the White House. Now, this is as close as you're going to get to the White House unless you have a tour. And a tour is a pretty extensive process to get. You have to write to your congressman, request a tour, and you may have to do that many months in advance. So if you want to go in the White House, you have to do that. Even if we could go in the White House, you can't film anyways. But it is definitely something to see. Take a look at it. It's really cool from afar, and it really is an iconic building with fascinating history. So if you do have the opportunity to write to your congressman and get that tour well in advance, I would suggest to do that. If not, this is another alternative. Just walk by. There's plenty of people here. The next thing you have to check out, which is right next to the Washington Monument, is the World War II Memorial. And this is basically a plaza with a fountain, and people hang out here and people gather, and what it does basically is honor our fallen heroes who fought and died for us in World War II. So it's definitely something to see, especially if you're into military history or have a veteran in your family. The World War II Memorial serves as a tribute to the sacrifices and bravery of those that fought and died during World War II. The memorial features a central plaza adorned by impressive sculptures and fountains that are inscripted with different quotes describing this challenging era in American history. This solemn memorial provides a reflective space for visitors to pay homage to the heroes who fought and died for American freedom and democracy. As you walk through the mall, check out the reflecting pool. This pool is famous from dozens of movies, and from here you can witness a dramatic and beautiful vista across the Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial. The next thing you have to see is the Lincoln Memorial, which we're in front of now. Now, this is one of the most famous sites in D.C., and it commemorates Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Now, it is an amazing monument with a beautiful neoclassical style, as you can see, and it really commemorates President Lincoln's contribution to changing the way that the country ran in the 1860s. The Lincoln Memorial is one of the most iconic landmarks in the United States. The memorial honors Abraham Lincoln and his contribution to freedom and change during his presidency in the 1860s. The memorial features an amazing neoclassical design, and the centerpiece is a statue of Lincoln in a contemplative pose conveying his strength and leadership. Surrounding the statue are inscriptions of Lincoln's famous speeches, which serve as a symbolic reminder of the importance of unity, equality, and the pursuit of justice for all. Next, check out the Martin Luther King Jr Memorial. The memorial stands as an important tribute to the legacy of Dr. King's world-changing civil rights passion. It features a towering sculpture of the civil rights activist emerging from stone to symbolize his struggle and triumph in the face of adversity. The memorial serves as a place of reflection and inspiration that reminds visitors of Dr. King's profound impact on equality and justice in America. The FDR Memorial is a beautiful tribute to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his significant contributions to the United States, particularly focusing on his efforts to get the country out of the Great Depression and his New Deal. The memorial is spread across 4 outdoor rooms representing each of his 4 terms. Here you can explore the beautiful grounds to reflect on FDR's dedication to democracy, social progress, and leadership during one of the most challenging times in American history. So one thing that I think is important to note when you're traveling through DC is you don't want to do it with a car. So DC is not very car friendly. It's very difficult to park, and all of the stuff is in walking distance. Now, you're gonna walk a lot, especially if you do this tour in one day, several miles. It's a very large area. There are alternatives though. So all along, as you probably have seen so far, there are bikes that you can rent. So you can set up a quick account and you can just hop on the bikes and you drop them off at certain locations. There also is a scooter network, right? So you can pick up scooters. If you have a Lyft account, you can connect it to that. You can pick up the scooter and go between all of the sites. So it really is an efficient way to do it. I like to walk, but if you're short on time or walking is a little difficult for you, I recommend doing that. Okay, the next thing you have to see is the Jefferson Memorial, which is right here. So the architecture of the Jefferson Memorial mimics all of his other architecture. So if you've been to like Monticello in Charlottesville or the University of Virginia, it looks just like it. So this memorial here commemorates his contribution to American life and his presidency. The Jefferson Memorial is a neoclassical shrine to the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson. This impressive structure features a beautiful central rotunda. The centerpiece of the memorial is a large statue of Thomas Jefferson and is surrounded by his influential writings and beliefs. Now, the next thing you have to see when you're here in DC is Arlington National Cemetery. So this is the Welcome Center right here. It doesn't look too crazy, but it is very beautiful once you go in. Now, we're actually not in DC. We're actually in Northern Virginia on the other side of the Potomac River. But we're still considering it in the DC trip because it's right over the river. I mean, you can literally walk here. There's two ways to get here. You can walk here, right past the Lincoln Memorial. You could take the DC Metro here to the Arlington National Cemetery stop, or you could drive. There's a parking lot as well. Now, you do not drive in the cemetery. You have two options. You can walk for free, although it is a lot of walking. You know, each site's about 20 minutes between each site. It's about 600 acres or more. The other option is you pay for a tram. That's what I did. You pay about $20 for a tram, and it goes between all the stops, the main stops here, and it's hop on, hop off. And they teach you about the cemetery as you go through it. I'd recommend you do that, especially if you have issues with walking. Now, we're gonna go to three very important sites here. These include the JFK and Kennedy gravesite, the Arlington House, which was Robert E. Lee's plantation house here, and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. We're also going to see the soldiers change. So let's start. Arlington National Cemetery serves as the final resting place for thousands of military service members, veterans, and their families. It is also the site of the Kennedy family gravesite. Here you can see the graves of one of America's most loved presidents, John F. Kennedy, his wife, Jackie Kennedy Onassis, children, and others in the family. The gravesite is surrounded by inscriptions of the president's famous quotes and offers the visitor a reflective remembrance of Kennedy's contribution to freedom and civil rights. tomb of the unknown soldier is a sacred and solemn monument that serves to remember unidentified American soldiers who suffered and died in various wars. The tomb is guarded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year by elite soldiers in a U.S. infantry regiment known as the Old Guard. The changing of the guard ceremony is a ritual in which basically one soldier clocks in and another clocks out, but is performed in a beautiful ceremony with instruments and formal dedications. So this part of the cemetery is a little less memorial and a little more historical building. So this is the plantation house of Robert E. Lee. It's called Arlington House. So Robert E. Lee and his family lived here for 30 years, and they had a large plantation, which is what the entire Arlington Cemetery is built on. And it's an interesting thing to see because it overlooks the entire downtown DC. You actually get amazing views. And then you can see an actual plantation house, and you could actually see the slave quarters for Lee's slaves here. So let's head in. Arlington House is a historic mansion on the grounds of Arlington National Cemetery that was the former home of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. You can tour his family home and plantation to get an insight of how a wealthy plantation owner and military general would live in the mid-19th century. You can also tour the grounds, which include the slave quarters of the enslaved population living and working on the property. Also, make sure you check out the impressive museum that explores the life and career of Robert E. Lee. Okay, the next thing you should see when you're here in Washington, D.C. is the Pentagon, but specifically the Pentagon 9/11 Memorial. I suggest you group this with Arlington National Cemetery because they're just one metro stop away, so it makes it very convenient. So the Pentagon story often gets overlooked by the Twin Towers story in Lower Manhattan in New York City. We have a video on the 9/11 Memorial in New York City as well. Take a look at that. But we often overlook what happened here on that same day at the Pentagon, right? So 184 people lost their lives on that day. Several on the plane, and then several people who actually worked in the office building. Now, when you're here, you can also go inside the Pentagon. It's a pretty ugly building, to be honest with you. And basically what it is, it's a very large office building, and it is the home of the Department of Defense. And there are tours of that every day. We're here during the weekend, so there are no tours of that. But if you're interested in military administration and how the military works, you might be interested. So take a look at that as well. The Pentagon 9/11 Memorial is a tribute to the 184 victims who lost their lives on the morning of September 11, 2001, when American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon. The memorial features 184 benches, each representing a victim of the attack. The memorial provides a reflective space to honor and remember these individuals. This concludes our big tour of the best things to do in DC. Now, this isn't all that DC has to offer. DC is an enormous city with a bunch of different neighborhoods and a lot of different things to do. We just basically went through all the monuments and the historic things. And, you know, some people might think it's a little stuffy or a little boring or a little school or scholarly, right? But it's not that. I mean, what's so important about it is it really represents what it means to be an American. All of these people, all of these monuments, they gave their career, some of them gave their lives for us, right? And it really is a moving thing to see here in our nation's capital. Listen guys, if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe, like this video, share this video, leave me your comment below, let me know some of your tips and tricks to navigate around here. And until next time guys, take care, bye.